What is going on, Wolfpack Nation? Welcome to another edition of Tuffy Talk, as we are here today, joined by the man himself, Chris VURNAKES with One Pack NIL. Chris, appreciate you joining us once again, my friend.
Leighton, I appreciate you, and I appreciate that you say my name correctly. Thank you.
Yeah, well. So what? What do people say, Chris VURNakes or something like that?
I've heard it all, and some of it's not appropriate for air, Leighton. So thank you. Appreciate you saying it correctly.
Well, I mean, we've had you on. What now? What, your second time on the show?
Maybe three, because we did the wrestling one too. So we've had some good times.
We did. That's right. Yep. So you're well aware. And I think I would be well aware too. Well, right. Anyway, Chris, well, I mean, obviously the main reason why I wanted to get you on today is obviously this past Wednesday, we just got through a very, very exciting event for sure that I think was overwhelming success. The second annual NC State football celebration, but also to NIL fundraiser as well. The one thing which I want to kind of start off with, Chris, is so, I know we'll kind of talk a little bit more about the merger between Pack of Wolves and Savage Wolves here a little bit later. But I always kind of have a hard time in terms of when people ask me, so wait, was it for One Pack? Was that fundraiser for One Pack or was it for Savage Wolves? Yeah. And I'm like, well, I'm not sure. Actually, I'm not sure. Like technically, which is it, or is it both?
Yeah. So, I mean, at the same time, the student athletes, it's for NC State football. I think that's the most important message. And One Pack supports NC State student athletes, all of them. Savage Wolves is just a club of supporters who support NC State football. We had members of One Pack and Savage Wolves and NIL supporters from a very broad spectrum at the event. At the same time, I think my vision and the way I try and communicate it is it's all about NC State student athletes. And this event was specifically for NC State football players. And we had a heck of a time.
Yep, absolutely. And I mean, getting it over $850,000, which, passed last year, but I think I saw it was like $170,000 that we passed last year's goal.
Right.
So I mean, like, I'm sure that when you and Hannah, your coworker, kind of sit down to talk about, what you want to get out of this event, you probably set goals. Was this about what you were expecting? Was this a little bit more than you were expecting?
I would say it's a little bit more. We had an amazing year last year. We raised almost $700,000 in a few hours at the inaugural football celebration. And my goal was to do better than that, because I think that shows growth. That shows our collective continues to do more for our student athletes. And last year, we raised $135,000 on 2 paintings of Philip Rivers. So we had to replace that and grow, if you know what I'm saying. So to see what we saw and to get $100,000 from 2 artist paintings from Philip Rivers, $100,000 donation and a match of $100,000. I mean, it was humbling is the word I've tried to use, because you sit there in the room, you work your tails off for months trying to get ready for this event. And Wolfpack Nation absolutely delivered. We had a few donations come in after the event, so we crept pretty close to $900,000 all told, based on people who attended or were a part of the event fundraising. So that's exactly what we need. It's exactly what we need to be doing for our collective and for our student athletes. And I think the best part about it is you get to have a fun time doing it. It's not like I feel bad about having to go to people and ask for money, which is my job. But you come to an event like that and people are so willing, so gracious, so philanthropic. We have people raising their paddles, donating outrageous sums of money to be able to support NC State and our student athletes. So it's humbling. It's amazing to see. I couldn't go to sleep until like 1 or 2 in the morning after the event, just because I was just full of adrenaline. And then I kind of passed out and then I realized how tired I was. But it was a great time. People have fun and they enjoy being there. And I think that's what I'm most proud of, quite honestly.
And for members, go ahead,
Lindsay,
Leighton.
Just want to clarify one thing before I hand it over to you. So you had mentioned earlier that it was 2 Philip Rivers paintings, but it was 2 Peyton Wilson paintings.
For the second year,
Correct. Yeah. Just want to clarify. Go ahead, Lindsay.
And for members of Wolfpack Nation who maybe missed out on this event but want to come to these events, be around other fans, and then donate in those environments, how would you recommend people keep up with One Pack and find these opportunities to connect with y'all and donate?
I think the easiest way is to follow us on social. So that's One Pack NIL on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. OnePackNIL.com is our website. Our goal is to continually grow these events. And quite honestly, we're at a point where we're hosting over 300 people to our football fundraiser. We've got to find a bigger venue, potentially. I think there's a possibility we can get 500 or 600 people in the room next year if we do this right with the right group. So to answer your question, Lindsay, I think we're trying to be as inclusive as possible, which is one of the reasons why we added the silent auction this year. We didn't do a silent auction last year, so that allowed people who weren't at the event to bid on those tickets and experiences and autographed merchandise as well. So we want to be as inclusive as possible because we need everybody in Wolfpack Nation to step up. And Leighton's used this phrase too, whether it's $10 a month, $10,000 a month, whatever, we need everybody because all of it adds up to what we want to be the most successful NIL collective that NC State can have. We don't compare ourselves to anybody else because that's a fool's errand in the NIL world. But if we continue to grow and do what we need to do, we're going to support our football programs and our athletics programs and our athletics coaches to a point where we're continued to see the success that we've seen. 9 wins in football, 3 straight wins over UNC. Men's basketball, ACC tournament champions and Final Four. Women's basketball tournament runner-ups into the Final Four. We all know what wrestling's doing. We know what baseball's doing. We're doing some great stuff with softball thanks to Leighton. So track and field, volleyball, like these conversations are constant. And we just need as many people on board. And I think the great thing when we added One Pack is we allow all of our donors and members to designate where their funds are going. So if you're an NC State fan and you want to see your dollars go to track and field, you've got that option. If you want to see it go to softball, you've got that option. If you just want to support NC State, you can choose the general fund. It's that easy. But, I'm proud to say in the past 6 weeks, we've grown by about 55% since we won the ACC championship for men's basketball, and Boo Corrigan put a letter out to Wolfpack Nation in support of our collective in collaboration with the Wolfpack Club and what we do for our student athletes. So that growth's been amazing and something that we certainly hadn't planned on in a good way, but we've got to keep growing if we want to keep meeting the benchmarks that our collective set.
And obviously we've seen those successes in all of these sports. And NIL is still a relatively new thing, but we've been able to see it on display on the field, on the court for all these different sports. How have you seen it, or how do you hope to see it affect facilities and fan experiences?
Why, and I was talking about a donor who had a very similar question this morning. How do you work with the Wolfpack Club? How do you work with the coaches? It's as collaborative as we possibly can be. There's still some rules about what we can and can't do, but our goal is to provide a great experience for our student athletes when they come to NC State. That's going to help us recruit and retain and all those things that we want to do for our program. So when we have successful sports programs and we're going to Final Fours and bowl games and ACC championship games, the rising tide lifts all of our boats, whether that's NIL, Wolfpack Club, athletics in general, the university in general. To my knowledge, and I don't work for the Wolfpack Club, but I understand that they're having their best fundraising year ever. So, and so are we, by the way. So I think that also answers the questions that people have some concern to say, well, we can't go all in on NIL because we still need facilities and scholarships. 100%. The Wolfpack Club has to be successful just as much as we do. But I think we've seen when we show the proof of concept and have the success on the court or on the field, NC State fans are willing to pull out their wallet, put some money down, maybe get an experience or a T-shirt or a membership or what have you, and commit to what we're doing. And that's really what we've seen over the last 5 or 6 weeks with that amazing growth. When Boo Corrigan comes out and tells our fan base that this is what we need you to do, they really listened. And, there's still so many untapped resources in our 100,000 living alumni to potentially support this. So, that's always my encouragement. Find the fit that works for you. We have fan membership options, tax deductible donations, corporate sponsorships. We've done events now for football, men's and women's basketball, and baseball, and we'll be doing more as we get into the fall. There's always a way for someone to support NC State athletics through NIL within their means, and they're probably going to get something pretty cool out of it. Whether it's a merchandise item, an experience, an invite to practice, things like that we want to be able to provide to our fans.
Yeah, I think there's still some confusion among some fans that their donation does come with something in return. You're not making a flat donation and not seeing the personal effects of it. You are getting these pieces of merchandise or experiences in return. So for someone who's like an average giver, kind of give us an idea of what those items or those experiences might be that a Wolfpack fan can benefit from by donating.
Well, and the easiest thing for me to do is tell people to visit onepacknil.com and click fan memberships. And I think you'll see there what we kind of lay out because it's very leveled. $10 a month, you'll get a few things, but most of your commitment is in that $10 a month commitment. As you scale up, you get more and more. And I know Leighton, at the level that he's at, has gotten a few practice invites, things like that. We love having people out to practice. Coach Doran, every practice, comes over and thanks our donors for what they've done. And it's everybody. It's not just because they're giving hundreds of thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars. It's somebody that might be giving $25, $50 a month, which is significant, especially to a lot of people. So I think that's my message is, what's meaningful to you? Because what's meaningful to me is different than Leighton, is different than Lindsay, is different than John down the street. For me, it might be $10 a month. For John, it might be 10,000. Look at what's meaningful for you, and then we'll make sure it's worth your while. I think that's definitely our goal, is not only to deliver on what we promised, but to over deliver on what we promised. So there's always some personal benefit to it, but there's also this benefit in seeing NC State sports be successful. And damn if we didn't go to the Final Four for the first time in 41 years in men's basketball, because Coach Keats was able to use the resources he had through NIL to put the roster together that was worth that. So Coach Moore, same thing. Coach Doran's building a product that hopefully is going to get us to Charlotte for the ACC championship game and maybe into the playoff. That's the goal. He specifically told Leighton and everyone that was in the room on Wednesday. That's the benchmark that we're shooting for now. This isn't the same benchmark that we had when I was in school, guys, and you guys as well. We were happy to make a bowl game and make the NCAA tournament. The bar's been risen. It's because of the support that we've received.
And so then, Leighton, as someone who is a donor, how have you seen your donation positively affect? Obviously, we've seen those results, like we said, that Final Four, those bowl games, things like that. But in being able to go to practices and to these events, how have you kind of seen Wolfpack Nation come together and like your personal effect on it through your donations?
Yeah, Lindsay, before we started this, I don't think we had the conversation that you were going to be the moderator for this, but I love it. Great job.
Sorry.
No, don't be. No, this is awesome. I love it. I mean, so for me, and today's my birthday, and today we actually put out a tweet like, hey, listen, like the best birthday gift y'all could give is to go and join and or donate to the One Pack NIL and join me. I had the opportunity to give $1,000 towards the One Pack NIL and on Wednesday, which was awesome. And for me, it was so cool being a former football equipment manager and, Coach Doran, I saw Coach Doran, he was clapping up and all that jazz, and I was able to give and, him to give me a thumbs up back. It was just so cool to reinvest in, a school and a program that's given me so much. But really for me, it really comes down to the key basis is putting my money where my mouth is. At the end of the day, I can't be coming out here and saying, hey guys, go donate or go be involved and not be involved myself. I got to do that, but also too, because I want to do that, because at the end of the day, I know that just like we've said before, it's part of the game now. NIL is part of the game. It's not going away anytime soon. So, we can either rise above it or we can fall behind it. And so that's basically my mindset there is I want to give what I can, without, affecting anything necessarily in terms of my daily life. But just be involved, so it's great to be around, a great group of NC State fans. And for those who aren't giving, not necessarily saying you're not, but just saying, if you have questions or if you have concerns or things that are holding you back, reach out to us directly, reach out to Chris directly, reach out to, One Pack directly, whatever, reach out, ask those questions. And I guarantee you that whatever your concerns are, whatever your financial issues are, that we'll be more than happy to work around whatever that you have to get you involved and get you a part of it. Cause just like Chris said, it doesn't take much. So,
yeah. Well, and that's so many of the conversations I've had over the past few weeks, especially are, I'm just learning about this for the first time, which to me is kind of crazy because I live and breathe it every day and have for about a year and a half now. But as people look into it, they do have questions, and we try to have those one-off conversations. But there's thousands of people who are having these same thoughts, right? So the more we can educate, I think it removes those barriers to entry about people joining. And then when they see what you get, it's the merchandise, it's the events, it's the experiences, it's the access that literally 99% of us haven't had before NIL. There's these cool things that we're able to offer that we've opened new doors to. We had a luncheon with donors last week with Coach Avent. The entire coaching staff was there, Coach Avent. We had 6 or 7 of our top donors for baseball, and they were like, well, this is so cool. We've never done anything like this. It's just a lunch with the coach, but it's a cool experience that they'll remember. So that's really what our goals are. that's where we take it from. And I think that's where we've seen the success and where we'll continue to see the success.
Before we continue, I want to take a quick second to tell you about our sponsor, Flightland's Jessup Insurance Group, that has your whole world covered, with agents in 5 offices throughout Eastern North Carolina to help you decide how much coverage you need, offering policies for home and auto, recreational vehicles, commercial, crop, health, life, and employee benefits. They are able to combine options to find a comprehensive solution that works for you. Flightland's Jessup protects the things you love so you can spend less time worrying and more time enjoying them. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Flightland's Jessup. You can also visit their webpage at www.flightlandsjessup.com. So please make sure to go and check them out. Amen. Yeah, Chris. And now that, Lindsay's done a great job for sure of really, laying out again why people need to get involved, things like that. I do want to take kind of backtrack and ask kind of 2 fun questions from the event itself. So, during the event, there was some great items that were, auctioned away. Like, a vodka tasting experience with Coach Doran, up to like 40 people. And then, a personal turnover bone, things like that. Again, I'm sure just like you have goals for the event itself, like, you may have goals for each of the items as well, or maybe values that you put. Was there one item in particular that went for way more than you guys expected?
Well, it's interesting, and maybe a couple of stories. This year we were just going to auction off a bottle of vodka signed by Dave Doran. We're doing the Savage Wolves vodka. They've been a huge partner of ours over at Social House. We're producing all these bottles now for the ABC stores. We were just going to do a bottle, and we thought we'd get a few $1,000s for it. Literally one of one, the first bottle off the line signed by Coach D. And then the day before the event, Social House comes to me and says, well, what if we offer this 40-person vodka cocktail exclusive experience? What do you think about that? And I was like, bingo, that's exactly what we need. So we went from maybe a few $1,000s. We ended up auctioning 2 of those for $20,000 a piece for $40,000. And that's an experience that somebody's paying for. They're going to have a cool time too. That's not just putting cash and not getting anything for it. So that's a cool one. The other one that I'll say, and we actually started this one last year, was the naming of the play. So literally the morning of the inaugural football celebration, I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off. Coach Doran calls me and said, hey, Chris, do we need another auction item? And I said, yeah, we can always use something. What do you got? Like the event's tonight. What are we thinking? He said, can we auction off the naming rights to a play? It's like, well, yeah, I think that's compliant, So we go through our due diligence. Everything's good. We end up getting $12,000 for it. And literally it came to us the morning of the event. So this year we repeat it. We got even more this year. And you heard, Leighton, Coach Doran told the story that when he was at NIU, I think it was, they started this like history of allowing either someone on their coaching staff or a large donor to name a play in honor of someone maybe that they had lost or something like that. So he kind of brought that history back to NC State to allow us to do some cool fundraising. So, you look at these auction items though, and it's literally experiences and items that you can't get anywhere else. And I think that's why we're so successful with it. Of our 12 auction items, I think we were well over $200,000 in total funds processed. We got another $30,000 in silent auctions. We had hundreds of thousands donated at in the paddle raise, and it all ended up to almost $900,000 in total. So, I think that's where I'm just blown away, absolutely blown away by the response that we saw and some of these cool experiences that literally just come up, 12 hours before the event.
Well, and during the event itself too, this is kind of more just to kind of hype up the event for next year. So that way when people see it, they're like, yeah, I want to get involved. So, I mean, really for me, being a guy that's, that they're seeing all this money fly around, it was fun to see and it was hilarious. But I do want to ask, because I think that one of the biggest, I mean, you got to give props where props are due, but the auctioneer that you guys had, he basically along the way kind of had the ideas like where they were just going to give away one Peyton Wilson painting. They were just going to do one vodka experience, but then kind of as the bidding goes, he just said, you know what, hey, can we give away 2 paintings? Like, hey, can we double that experience? Things like that. Like, you guys give him kind of that flexibility to make those calls. And then was he the auctioneer last year as well? Like, it seems there was some relationship there.
His name's Ben Farrell, and he's the absolute best. He's a huge NC State fan. He lives in Nashville, Tennessee now, but he comes back to Raleigh probably 20 or 30 times a year to do fundraising events in Raleigh and the greater Raleigh area. So we have a conversation leading up to the event to say, if we meet a certain threshold, we'll be able to do more than one of these. So that's the conversation that we have that he has in the back of his mind. what's amazing to me is that Ben does the entire night with no note cards, no script, no copy. Literally everything is in his mind. And he can run the crowd the entire time. I mean, it was probably an hour and 15 minutes from the start of the auction till the end of the paddle race. And he has everyone in the room excited about what we're doing because he's just got so much energy. He exudes energy and it just runs throughout the crowd. And I love it when we start off and he'll get excited and, you get kids holding up paddles and people, going back and forth. It really is something where if you ever have the experience, it's so worth it, even if you're not bidding, just to be a part of it because it's so cool to be a part of. But that's a collaboration between Ben and myself, really, to say, hey, if we can get over X amount for the first one, then we're going to be able to do a second one. The donor's already committed to that. Again, I'll give Social House Vodka the credit here because they said, hey, if you can really do some fundraising, we can offer multiple. And I said, okay, well, we'll take you up on that. And clearly it was successful. We got $20,000 for the first one and matched it for the second one. To get $50,000 for the painting is still unbelievable to me. I'd like to thank Robbie Fulford for his donation to win that first one and Andy Albright to take the second one. That's $100,000 of fundraising. We have some expenses in that to pay the artist, as you can imagine, for the show that he puts on. But it is so well worth it, not only for the fundraising, but just for the experience that everybody in the room has to see that painting come to life, literally on the canvas, upside down, mind you. He does this painting upside down, then flips it, and Peyton's right there to see it. So, it's very cool. Quite candidly, I probably had 20 people reach out to me the day after asking me the name of the auctioneer and the painter. And my typical response was, sorry, I don't have it. Because I'm not giving away our trade secrets. We want to keep those guys in our back pocket for future events. But Jared Emerson does a great job and Ben Farrell does as well. And we literally build the events around them. We build it around their schedule to make sure they can be there. We had the basketball event in the winter and neither was available. And I think we saw a tangible impact. So we're going to make sure those guys are at the events moving forward.
Love it. Yeah, no. And I wanted to kind of, mention this real quickly, as I know that we haven't spoken about this since the last time we had you on the show. But, this first time that we've had you on the show now being the One Pack NIL collective. And, so how have things been going so far, with work with the combination now with Reed Johnson, Savage Wolves over at Savage Wolves? How's that been going so far?
It's exactly what we had to do. And it makes it easier for our collective. It makes it easier for our student athletes, and it makes it easier for our coaches, quite honestly. And Reed and Steve Williams, kudos to both of those guys because they brought an energy that is so collaborative that we're all in this together. It is not this, and we're still working in two different silos. I talk to Reed and Steve at least 5 times a day. Because we have to have that level of communication for what we're trying to do for our student athletes. Reed lives in Charlotte. Steve lives up in Wake Forest. We don't see each other a whole lot, but we talk a lot to make sure that our collective is going down the right path and doing things the right way for our student athletes. We also have other people that are involved, including Clyde Phillips and Brian McMurray, that are all part of the One Pack board. But at the same time, the people that came over from Savage, namely Reed and Steve, have been everything we ever needed to work together, and they're looking at me and successes we've had and vice versa. So we can do this in a way that's going to create the best product for our student athletes at the end of the day. So, I think you see that in some of the things we brought over from their membership packages. You see some of it coming in from the stewardship model that we had from Pack of Wolves. I think essentially what we did was combine the best parts of each collective and make a super collective for NC State fans to be proud of.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And so, Chris, to kind of finish this off, so we had one follower give a question that I thought was a good one for sure. And even my wife has even asked this question before as well. But, with today's day and age, we're able to see again how much money's been donated, things like that. And we're able to, from listening to media, things like that, say like, with, basically how much of a NIL pocket that coaches may have to work with, things like that. But will there come a time, and which I'm sure is very, very tough because now with the new transfer portal rules, basically every single year is a free agent. Everybody's free agent every single year. But will there come a year that you think where NC State fans will be able to see how much money is being given to specific athletes?
I think we're probably a year or two away from that. And I say that because the next step to me is when universities can compensate student athletes directly. Whenever they're able to do that, that's when disclosures will be mandatory, because they'll be essentially state employees or state contractors. I use the term employees pretty loosely because that's not where I think universities want to go. But right now, One Pack NIL and Blueprint Sports, the organization I work for, are third-party LLCs. We're hiring the student athletes just like everybody else in an LLC world. So that information is not for public disclosure, just like any other LLC. We're not a private company. We don't have to disclose things like that. But I think we're quickly moving towards a landscape where universities will have much more direct impact on payments or revenue sharing, or however you want to phrase it, to student athletes. And I think when we live in that world, that's when we'll know how much student athletes are being compensated, similar to the coaching staffs. All that stuff's public record. You can easily find online or through Freedom of Information Act. So we're not there yet because of the way that the NCAA has built this. We're hiring them as third-party commercial 1099 contractors for our company. So in that world, it's not really something that needs to be disclosed. But I think the ground is definitely moving towards a place where universities will be directly funneling revenue or revenue sharing or direct compensation to student athletes of all sports. And then that'll be disclosed. And then the collective's role will be to hire these student athletes for additional commercial opportunities, autograph signings, appearances, cameo-like videos, events that we're already doing, things like that we can go above and beyond that. I kind of look at this, we're very much going towards a professional model, right? I think if anybody sees it, that's what it looks like. We know what professionals are paid because that's how it's built underneath the current collective bargaining agreement. I think that's the way that we're moving. And then there'll be a lot more transparency in the process. There won't be this cloak and dagger. Well, this person said he's going to get paid this much if he leaves through the transfer portal, when it's not really true. Now, I think the general consensus of the coaching staffs that I talk to is we want the student athletes to get paid. Like, they deserve it. I just don't want to be like, I need to be in the loop, and there needs to be more light shed on the process to say, well, if they're being offered an amount by another school, or they're in the transfer portal and they're saying they have other offers, we just want to know that that's valid and credible, because I think there are so many good agents and guardians and guides for our student athletes, but there are some bad ones out there too. And I think that's the challenge is, when you're interacting with someone who might not be out for the best interest of the student athlete, it's tough to tell what they're saying is true or not. I think that's a challenge. And quite candidly, we'd all like to have that information. But at the same time, that's just not the way that the NCAA built the system 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago now. So as we continue to move towards a plan and a process that allows schools to be more involved, you'll see more regulation, more transparency through more disclosure, and that'll allow everybody to be more educated on what we're doing and allow the collectives to be what we really should be, which is hiring student athletes not for their salary or for their direct comp, but for additional opportunities, like DJ Burns earning 9 to 10 additional deals during March Madness, like DJ Horn earning an autograph signing and being paid for that. Those guys have earned those opportunities, and that's NIL. What we've created is a system where the NIL collectives have been responsible for paying salaries, and that's not truly fair, but I'll digress from that. But we're definitely moving towards a process that's more transparent and it's more open to the public while still having additional opportunities for our student athletes.
That's great.
Yeah.
And last question, Chris, and we'll let you go. But I know that, one of the recent things that's happened too in the NIL world that we've seen with Duke basketball, for example, is now the addition of a general manager role where basically, just like in the pros, basically somebody's given, X amount of money, and then their basically job is to go and make, negotiations and deals to get the best players they can per the amount of money they're given and negotiate those deals. So that way it takes kind of the personal side out of it and makes it fundamentally a business decision on whether a player comes or decides to come or is offered, et cetera. What do you think, positives and negatives of a role like that? And do you see something like that coming to NC State?
Well, I'll answer the second question first because I was ready for that one. So right now, we don't have anybody who actually has that title. I mean, my title is general manager, but it's of the collective, not of the different programs.
Right.
Each program has a person who's responsible for NIL and knows what our capacity is. And that's someone that we either liaison with directly or use a third-party conduit to be able to communicate that to. So there are those people in those programs that have their finger on the pulse of what's our budget and how much can we spend? You know, that there are those people, even if they don't have the University or the Kentucky or the Duke, you know, actual role. As we progress further, I'm proud to say that NC State, I think, is being pretty proactive on this internally, because they've already hired one specific NIL staff person. And my understanding is they're planning to hire at least a few more to be able to manage NIL / student athlete compensation directly from inside the house, if that makes sense. So I think we're ahead of the curve, which is awesome. I think we were ahead of the curve when this all started with Pack of Wolves and Hayes Lancaster, and kudos to Hayes for everything he's done to get us started and off on the right foot. You know, it's never perfect, and that's just NIL, but I think we've progressed in a way that everyone's been proud to see, and we need to continually deliver on those expectations now, because just making the tournament or just making a bowl game are now not the right benchmark. We've got to do better. And the more people we have bought into that mentality, $10 a month to get started, we're going to continually deliver results that I think our NC State fans will be proud of.
Yeah, I love it, Chris. Well, Wolfpack Nation, again, if you haven't already, make sure to go and follow One Pack NIL on all their social media, Twitter, specifically at One Pack NIL. And if you have any questions as well, feel free to check out their website, onepacknil.com. And again, if you have any questions, concerns, holdbacks, whatever it may be, please feel free to reach out to us directly at Tuffy Talk Now on Twitter, Instagram, you name it. And then also too, feel free to reach out to Chris on any of his social media, One Packs, directly, whatever it may be. Reach out to us, and we'll be more than happy to answer any questions or concerns you have. So that way you can get involved and make a huge, huge impact here, which we are already seeing and continue to build off of it for sure. Chris, any final comments here before we wrap this thing up?
No, just thank you, Leighton, Lindsay. I appreciate you guys, and I appreciate Tuffy Talk and everything you guys do. It's always fun to follow you guys, and always appreciate your support of NIL and everything that's about NC State.
Amen. Thanks, Chris. Well, with that being said, Wolfpack Nation, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. If you love NC State, hit that like button and give us a follow as well. Tuffy Talk Now, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, y'all. We'll see y'all soon. Thank you so much, and go Pack, baby.